agradecer a la gente de New Covenant Group, especialmente al doctor Michael Jones, su esposa Rhonda Jones, nuestro productor ejecutivo Joy Livingston, Matt Rhodes, también a crew member y al nuevo integrante del equipo intern. No sé de dónde sacan estos nombres, pero estas son las personas que nos ayudan. Muchas gracias a ellos por hacer esto posible. Esto es el vínculo perfecto, el espacio que tenemos para discutir, para hablar acerca de lo que, en mi opinión, es lo más importante, que es el amor de Dios. Es el mensaje que Dios tiene para nosotros, más allá de cualquier otra cosa. Pueden haber otras cosas importantes, pero lo más importante es que podamos llegar al conocimiento de su amor y a imitar ese amor que Él tiene por nosotros y extenderlo a los demás. Eso es realmente lo que interesa. Lo demás es secundario. En esta tarde vamos a continuar con lo que hemos hecho en las últimas oportunidades. Los mensajes que hemos compartido en español los estamos compartiendo en inglés para todas las personas que nos escuchan en inglés. Son hablantes, o personas que hablan inglés y no español, porque queremos hacer llegar estos mensajes a la mayor cantidad de personas posibles. Entonces, a partir de aquí vamos a hablar en inglés y regresaremos en español al final de la emisión. Hi, this is the perfect man. My name is William Caicedo, and I say hi from Cartagena, Colombia. It's a pleasure for me to be again with you. And as we've been doing, as we have done the week before, and the weeks before, and that we're sharing our messages in English for our English speaking viewers that out there are right now seeing us, watching us through Ustream. And today's message is something that we shared some weeks ago, a couple weeks ago with our Spanish-speaking audience. And I had the idea of bringing this up today because last time we were talking about we having this conversation and there was this viewer comment. We were talking about Matthew 25, but we were specifically discussing the story of the Good Samaritan. We were saying that Jesus updated the definition of Jesus updated the definition of what a neighbor is, because the Leviticus definition of a neighbor was the children of your own people. I mean, Israel. So you were commanded to love Israel, and that's it. Your enemies you could hate and destroy them as you see fit, if they made something against you. But now we have Jesus here telling an interpreter of the law that neighbor was not just the person right next to you, the person from your own country, your family, your friend, but neighbor was in fact even your enemy, even the person that you dislike the most, even the person that you hated. He uses this story carefully constructed in order to take advantage of the racial sensitivities of the Jews. In the story that we discussed in last week, Jesus is recorded saying that a Samaritan helped a Jew that was in big trouble, even when their own refuses to do so. A priest did not help him, a Levite did not help him, but the Samaritan, the most unlikely person to help him because of their problems they had between them, Jews and Samaritans, this person did help him, and not only he helped him, but he helped him in a way that, I mean, beyond any expectation. This way, Jesus updates this definition of neighbor, and Jesus hinted to a new kind of proximity which involved humankind, what we call the human proximity. We are all proximal when we define this proximity to be inside the set of all human beings. And this way, everyone that is living, that has lived, and is going to live, and at some point in this planet, is my neighbor, because it's proximal to me, because it's also flesh and bones, because they also are offsprings of God, as myself. And if everyone is my neighbor, then I'm commanded, I'm told that I have to love them as myself. This sounds not particularly radical to our ears, but I'm sure that for this interpreter of the law, this was really a big deal. It was radical. This was revolutionary, because he was taking some teaching that was in the law and giving it a twist. But this was Jesus' twist, so it was a good twist. It was an inclusive twist. And someone later asked that if Jesus is somehow contradicting the Leviticus definition, then is the Leviticus definition wrong? Then I said that I tried to have a very nuanced approach to the OT. Try not to throw away the baby with the bathwater. And it was a quick answer, but now I would like to share with you something that is quite relevant to this discussion about the OT and Yahweh and Jesus and Abba and our God. So this message is that we shared weeks ago in Spanish. Actually, it's well suited to this discussion, or this point that someone brought up last week. So this message is called Jesus Came to Correct and Fix Everything That Needed to Be Corrected and Fixed. That's a pretty long name. Well, that wouldn't be the name of it. It would be more than the central thesis for today. Jesus came to correct and fix everything that needed to be corrected and fix it. This is an affirmation that I find it to be true in different levels. Because according to my understanding of things, the two most important things Jesus correct when he was here are number one, our understanding of God, and number two, humankind mortal condition. Maybe that's the other way around. The first one was humankind mortal condition, and the second was our understanding of God. That's the way I see things. In this show in Spanish, we've talked several times about how, according to Christus Victor theology, Jesus' mission consisted in defeating death in a way such humans could gain access to the celestial mansions or dwellings prepared by Jesus for us at the moment that our physical bodies fail. I mean, when we experience physical death. Jesus was interested in restore something that was lost. I don't know exactly how, but before Jesus, the eternal dwellings of man were graves. That's what the scripture seems to point to. And after him, humans are able to transcend the grave because Jesus poured his life onto every living human being on earth. And through this process, humankind was born again, and this time from above. In my opinion, that's what Paul refers to here. So it's written, the first man, Adam, became a living being. the last Adam, a life-given spirit. That would be First Corinthians 15:45. Um, the way I see things, I I don't know. I'm very. I'm not what you would expect from a Christian because I have this very different beliefs on some key aspects. For example, I don't think that when people dies, they go right away to the Father's presence. No matter if they are believers or not. I think that it's just the beginning of a journey that is gonna take us to many different places in order to keep on growing spiritually to a place where we are actually ready to be in God's presence. That's the way I see things. Several experiences have led me to to believe the way I do. But so Jesus comes and fixes this little bit that was preventing people from transcending the grave and starting what would be this journey, this amazing journey back to God. That is Christ's victory with a twist, actually, because the penal substitutionary model of the atonement, which would be the leading theory of the atonement in the West, especially advanced by Protestants and stuff, speaks about Jesus being made an offer for sin and Jesus gaining us the forgiveness of the Father. So in a way, Jesus is saving us from the Father. So in a way, God is saving us from himself by beating the crap out of himself. It sounds weird, but it is what the penal substitutionary model of atonement is. We are using different words, but that's exactly the same message. I can stand looking at you because you're sinful. Then I'm gonna send a part of myself in order to kick his butt, to be now for now being actually able to stand you, because from now on I'm not seeing directly to you, but I'm seeing you through Jesus, and with this sort of deceivement or deceitful thing, now you gain entrance to my kingdom. That will be penal substitutionary atonement. I know for sure that the proponents of this model are going to disagree with me, but that's the way I see things. Just it, my opinion. Nothing less, nothing more. Christ's victory on the other hand is different because here the enemy is not, or the main concern is not actually God's allergy to sin, which is very difficult to understand, because why he gave us these sinful bodies in the first place. That's at that point maybe someone would mention free will and stuff, but if he is really all-knowing and all-powerful, why did he give us this? He gave us these bodies, these sinful bodies. It sounds weird. But in Christ's victory, the main motivation for Christ's coming is to defeat death. Is something that was needed to be restored in order to allow us to transcend the grave. We've talked about this in several past shows in Spanish. I felt that we need to make this little clarification now that we are sharing this in English. But okay, this is not what we are going to. We are not going to focus on this, specifically this, right now. We are going to Well, before we advance a little bit, let me just quote the scripture here. That would be Romans 5:18. It says, consequently, just as one trespass resulted in condemnation for all people, so also one righteous act which result in justification and life for all people. Romans 5:18. Why do I bring this up? Because this mission that Jesus came to complete was successfully completed in the moment that Jesus rose from the dead, from the grave. And because of that, its success is not contingent. In other words, it does not depend on our errors. It is not contingent or on our wills. I mean, I cannot will myself out the plan of God, because I have some freedom of choice, but God is different level, in a different league. I cannot even compete with His will. So as a father that predestines his child, I'm going to send you to this school, I'm going to send you to the college, I'm going to give you this and this. And the child is under the authority of the father. In some similar way, we are under this authority and we cannot will ourselves out of this authority. So when Paul says this about this condemnation and this righteous act that result in justification and life for all people, he's not telling us, hey, you have to do this and that in order to be eligible for the gift. No, in my opinion, he's just telling us, I'm informing you, I'm telling you that this happened. That is really good news. That will be a really good news for me. I don't know for you, but for me, it is. Okay. But just as I said, we are not going to focus on this because it is not my intention for today. We're going to focus on another aspect, what Jesus fixed. It will be number 2, would be our understanding of God. Why do I mean with this? Okay, by this, okay. In the OT, we had Yahweh, right? The Hebrew deity that was in some way unconditional to Israel, to the Hebrews. It was like the country's deity, the country's God. But this Yahweh was remarkably similar to the typical ancient Near East God, because he was a God that cursed, that loved, and also a God that hated people just because their nationality. It's because the mere fact that they were born in some country or the other country different to Israel, and that make them eligible for painful death. This is what we would expect to find in an ancient Near East God. We have also these characteristics in Yahweh. However, often we see some moral tones, undertones in his commands. Also, in a very interesting way, he differences himself from the other ancient Near East gods of that time and place. How? Well, he differences from them in that he does not accept people making images of him. Also, he does not accept human sacrifices. Makes him different from the other gods of that place and time. However, nonetheless, he lets himself be seen as a violent God and a bloodthirsty God, committing genocide and allowing a demeaning treatment of women, for example. Things that just look weird. Certain passages of the Mosaic law of Moses, are particularly disturbing for us with our 21st century intellects and sensibilities. However, I'm sure that For a person that lived like six 6,000 years ago, these same things that result weird or disturbing for us wouldn't be so disturbing for the people all the time. These commands would be like normal things, even good things. But in any case, Yahweh seems to be a warrior God that is only interested in the survival of his chosen people. Everyone else just was in a bad luck day, because if Israel decided to go against them, they had God on his side, so the other party was going to be obliterated and destroyed. Bad luck. Also, Yahweh seems to have this very legalistic, this based on fear relationship with those who serve him. Yeah, he defended Israel, but he also had this weird way to communicate with them, these weird demands. It was just plain weird because, for example, this way he related to them being legalistic also had these sanctions, these penalties for things that doesn't seem to be so serious. Don't seem to be so serious. Things just as simple as, for example, picking up sticks on a Saturday, or the natural defiance of kids had these unproportionate penalties. Death penalty, for example, in these two cases. And these penalties and sanctions that not seem to be proportional to the seriousness of these wrongs. Actually, I'm not sure that we can classify these two things as wrongs. So I pick sticks up on a Saturday. Now I deserve death for that. As a popular meme would say, boy, that escalated quickly. It's just our 21st century understanding just doesn't understand that, doesn't get it. And the bit about women is particularly disturbing because women were subjected to a very demeaning treatment. They were just property of their husbands. And also despicable things like rape, for example, were somehow tolerated, and extended money was allowed it. If there was money, if you threw money into the equation, then rape would be okay. These things reveal an archaic and tribal spirit that somehow belies the God we all know. And there's also this notion of an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, and this logic of retribution. Some people speculate that this is a means to limit vengeance. It puts limit to personal vengeance, but this